Welcome to Full Sports Press. I'm your host, Brian Hill. This is the sports show that asks, where is the rodent uprising against squirrels? Here they've been enjoying the good life during the day and in public view for everyone to see, while the rest of Rodentia waits until nightfall to scurry around in the darkness. America is so woke right now, it seems only fair that the rodent population has an equal share of daytime rights with squirrels. Will they be killed en masse by humans fearing a potential deadly outbreak? Probably. But that's all part of a conspiracy perpetrated by squirrel higher-ups, because if the truth ever got out, squirrels would be the ones with the bullseye on their heads. The New York Knickerbockers are playing their best basketball in years, coming off a 9-game winning streak and sitting in the 4th spot in the Eastern Conference. And Knicks fans couldn't be happier with the team's performance. And if you don't believe that this is a fan base that's been deprived of happiness, just look at this clip of them celebrating earlier this season after climbing the mountaintop to 17-17.
Let's go, Knicks!
And this is them celebrating after winning 8 in a row. At this rate, if the Knicks' winning ways keeps up, you can expect that a sea of blue and orange Knicks fans will descend upon New York City streets like a swarm of wind-deprived locusts. Led by Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett, and reformed Batman villain turned NBA head coach Tom Thibodeau, this year's New York Knicks team seems to have shed from its cocoon of failure and emerged as a majestic gypsy moth. Though the lingering failures of the previous 2 decades still haunt the fan base, no longer finding themselves in the abyss of the Eastern Conference seems to indicate a potential culture shift in the Knicks organization that, for the first time in a long time, has given hope to diehard fans that a slightly less bleak future is on the horizon. But despite all the good vibes because of the unfamiliar feeling of winning, something sinister is still scuttling through the hallowed halls of Madison Square Garden like a troll through an enchanted forest. Something so bitter and grumpy that no matter how sweet the scent of success is, its persistent stench of aftershave and stale farts could very well stain any season-ending triumph. What kind of abomination could be responsible for such a foul odor? A gremlin by the name of James Dolan. A gremlin in the garden. James L. Dolan, son of Cablevision founder billionaire Charles Dolan, and man who pays attractive women to sit courtside next to his miserable ass, is the owner and tiny tyrant of the New York Knicks. Over Dolan's 22-year reign as Knicks owner and supreme leader, he's managed to become one of the most hated figures in modern sports. Plagued by poor judgment, a perpetual frown face, and thin skin, Dolan has ruled over Knicks' kingdom with a squishy fist of authoritarianism torn straight from the diaries of Vladimir Putin and Lil Kim. Like most dictators, Dolan enjoys the finer things in life, like unquestioned loyalty, distrusting the media, and vanity projects like being the lead singer of a blues band called J.D. and the Straight Shot.
Better find a church. Better find a suit. Better search through the night by the light of a sinner's moon.
Now that is some fine, hot garbage. The kind of music that makes you want to step into oncoming traffic or, I don't know, drown yourself. In fact, after watching that, Full Sports Press wants to give a public service announcement. If you ever see anyone enjoying J.D. in the Straight Shot, check on them, because they're most likely experiencing some sort of emotional episode. And if they're not, and they're just simply enjoying the music because they like it, cut off all communications with them because, well, why would anyone willingly listen to that? I know I did for the sake of research, but now I have an uncontrollable urge to cut myself. If it wasn't bad enough that Dolan's ear cancer-inducing music was being released to the public without a Surgeon General warning, Full Sports Press has learned that at one point, Madison Square Garden employees' attendance at performances was expected and noted. It's the kind of sick, cruel torture that you think would be reserved for places like North Korea, but for Dolan and the Knicks, it simply checks another box of the modern-day dictator. In addition to playing a poor man's version of The Greatest Showman, Dolan has, like many members of the Dictators Club, fought to suppress the voice of the people. In recent years, Knicks fans hoping to express their displeasure with Dolan have been swiftly removed from Madison Square Garden, like members of the infamous Russian pop group Pussy Riot.
Sell the team! Anything I should sell the team?
Getting into it with a fan after Saturday's home game at Madison Square Garden.
You want to not come to any more games? Why? Because that's rude.
What's your opinion?
No, it's not an opinion. And you know what? Enjoy watching them on TV.
Even Knicks fans who attend sparsely filled sad JD and the Short Shot outdoor concerts are not safe from Dolan's ever-sensitive whininess.
Why are you here? You're a fan of music and you're holding up that sign? Don't you think that that's a little negative? You don't, anybody else here think it's a little negative? I'm going to invite you to leave.
Fans aren't the only ones subjected to the MSG Gestapo. Back in 2017, Knicks legend Charles Oakley was forcibly removed after making negative comments to Dolan from a couple of rows back.
Charles Oakley is involved in something. They need security in a big way.
The 53-year-old suddenly ejected from his seat while watching the Knicks-Clippers game by a swarm of security.
Just think about how embarrassing that must have been. I know I haven't been forcibly removed from any establishment, let alone MSG. Not yet at least. I'm sure after Dolan sees this, I'll have my chance. But Charles Oakley is not me or some random fan. He's a Knick great who was treated like that doctor on a United Airlines flight. Now, of course, like any dictator, Dolan read the room and quickly invited former Knick and coach choker Latrell Sprewell to sit next to him at a game to show that he was still cool with Knicks players of yesteryear. But as soon as their commitment to the ruse passed, it seemed like Sprewell was being propped up against his will like some kind of political prisoner. And as recently as March 2021, even Patrick Ewing, former Knicks center and on-court black hole, who is one of the most recognizable Knicks ever because he's 7 feet tall, was accosted by Knicks security as he walked through the halls of Madison Square Garden while leading his Georgetown Hoyas into the Big East tournament.
I thought this was my building. And I feel terrible that I'm getting stopped, accosted, asking for passes. Everybody in this building should know who the hell I am.
Even film icon and sideline fixture Spike Lee isn't safe from MSSG security forces. Once a courtside constant, Spike was stopped after he was seen entering the same door he's been entering for the last 28 years.
But no one told me. No one told me. No one told me. I'm staying here. Now, you want to arrest me like Charles Oakley? Fuck that. Or you arrest me like you want to shut your hand on my back like Oakley?
Signs of James Dolan's authoritarian mindset should have been detected in the early years of his reign. Only 2 years after JD and the soft spot seized power, the Knicks PR department began to follow strict guidelines, similar to those that you'd see in any state-run media network, by having their on-air personalities never question the shortcomings of their chosen one, and by stifling the voices of their young stars in order to control whatever dumbass narrative they're trying to peddle. The lack of access to the team at one point caused New York Times head beat writer Frank Isola to be sent to Illinois to cover a girls' basketball team that was destroying a 5th grade boys league because it was more compelling than covering the New York Knicks. And I'm not saying that those girls didn't deserve their time in the spotlight, but I remember being in the 5th grade, and I'm not surprised those girls were kicking ass. Girls were terrifying back then, and frankly, they still are. But the tight-lipped posturing isn't just reserved for stories that paint the Knicks in a negative light. Not at all. Even feel-good stories about players are met with closed doors and players looking over their shoulders like they're in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Now, over the years, the vocal outcry for the end of Dolan's reign has increased, but with the recent resurgence of the team, we here at Full Sports Press fear that those calls for revolution might be drowned out. That's why we want to be the first to say to all Knicks fans, don't let the light of victory blind you from the shadow and failures of a human butt crack named James Dolan. He's still a horrible owner in charge of one of the most iconic franchises, and he, like any dictator, needs to be overthrown and cast aside like mold-riddled cheese. As a born and bred New Yorker, I know that the Knicks winning would capture the hearts and minds of all of us. But the idea of a false prophet raising a championship banner in the mecca of basketball gives me pause, because a Knicks victory is also a victory for Dolan and would only cement his tyranny for another 20 years. So with that said, go Knicks, but James Dolan. That's all for this episode of Full Sports Press. Join us next time when we celebrate the return of Goodell hugs to the NFL draft. I know we here at Full Sports Press were waiting with bated breath on the news, and now that it's here, we can't wait for old Roger to get all types of handsy.